Let's go to Jasher Jasher chapter 7. We're going to start at verse 23. Jasher 7 and 23. Let's start reading.
The book of Jasher, chapter 7, verse 23. And Cush, the son of Ham, the son of Noah, took a wife in those days in his old age, and she bare a son, and they called his name Nimrod, saying, At that time, the sons of men again began to rebel and transgress against the Most High. And the child grew up, and his father loved him exceedingly, for he was the son of his old age.
He loved him exceedingly. Verse 24.
And the garments of skin, which the Most High made for Adam and his wife, when they went out of the garden, were given to Cush.
They were given to Cush. Remember the original garments that the Most High, when he slayed those animals to cover up their sin, the first animal sacrifice, those garments now were in the possession of Cush. Verse 23.
Verse
25.
For after the death of Adam and his wife, the garments were given to Enoch, the son of Jared. And when Enoch was taken up to the Most High, he gave them to Methuselah, his son.
Verse 26.
And at the death of Methuselah, Noah took them and brought them to the ark. And they were with him until he went out of the ark.
So Noah had possession of them. But listen to this. Verse 27.
And in their going out, Ham stole those garments.
Ham did what?
Ham stole those garments.
Ham stole the garments. Go ahead.
From Noah his father, and he took them and hid them from his brothers.
Ham was something else. Wow. Ham was something else. And that's why, we as a people, and I'm talking about you so-called blacks, who you're really from the tribe of Judah, we are associated with the curse of Ham, when really there is no curse of Ham. That's something ignorant Christians use. There is no curse of Ham. But this is why they associated with us with Ham, because Ham was a thief, Ham was a liar. So Ham stole the garments from Noah. Verse 28.
And when Ham begot his firstborn Cush, he gave him the garments in secret.
So he gave it to him in secret. Go ahead.
And
yes.
Did those clothes have the clothes that the Most High gave him? And the reason he stole it because they had some type of significance to them,
Oh, they had a lot of significance. They had power.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just didn't want to say it because I didn't want it to seem like magical or anything, but I'm pretty sure if the Most High did it and that was the first set of clothes ever in the history of this world, then I would, because you ever seen, I know you've seen that movie Noah, and that's what I was thinking about. I was like, they got it so wrong, but they did have that part where they had the clothes or whatnot, and he was passing it down to his son and stuff like that. So that's the reason why I was asking.
Yeah, they had power in it, because that was they didn't sacrifice it. The Most High sacrificed these animals and covered their skins up. So there's a real big significance on the garments. And that's something that we can bring forth on later teaching, because that's going to take some time, right? So Ham stole these garments, and they had to be worth something. Nobody steals something that ain't worth nothing. Nobody steals something that ain't worth that, and I'm saying ain't. Boy, if my English teachers could hear me now. No one steals something that isn't worth anything. Okay? These garments were worth something. All right? And I'm going to show you why. Let's read. Where we at? 27 or 28?
28.
Let's read 28.
And they were with Cush many days. And Cush also concealed them from his sons and brothers. And when Cush had begotten Nimrod, he gave him those garments through his love for him. And Nimrod grew up And when he was 20 years old, he put on those garments.
So he put on the garments. Okay? So when he was 20 years old, he put on the garments. So one of the attributes, no, that wouldn't be Nimrod. I was about to say thief, but that wasn't an attribute because of the fact that he was given that stuff. All right? Verse 30.
And Nimrod became strong when he put on the garments, and the Most High gave him might and strength. And he was a mighty hunter in the earth, yea, he was a mighty hunter in the field.
See that? Go ahead.
And he hunted the animals, and he built altars, and he offered upon them the animals before the Most High.
Now, he was a mighty hunter. There were hunters before time, but remember, the earth got kind of flooded. So then he was the first one. So now you get this man and he's walking around with leopard skins and deer buck skins or whatever they call them. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, wait. Nobody is doing this. What's going on? He put on the garments and the garments gave him strength. They gave him strength. It would be like if we were to find the Ark of the Covenant right now. How do you think we would feel? We would feel empowered if we found the Ark of the Covenant right now. When we got the Ark of the Covenant, we would know that first of all, we already know that our Father is real. Everything is real about our Father. But the Ark of the Covenant would just solidify even more. Right? So he wore the garments that were given to him through thievery. But see, something was weird about this because the Most High gave him strength. Father knew that he took these garments, right? They were stolen. Let's read.
And Nimrod strengthened himself, and he rose up from amongst his brethren, and he fought the battles of his brethren against all their enemies round about.
He fought for his brethren, right? So see, even the Most High will take a warlock or somebody of evil intent and try to change them. Verse 32.
And the Most High delivered all the enemies of his brethren in his hands, and the Most High prospered him from time to time in his battles, and he reigned upon the earth.
He reigned on the earth. Go ahead.
Therefore, it became current in those days when a man ushered forth those that he had trained up for battle, he would say to them, like the Most High did to Nimrod, who was a mighty hunter in the earth, and who succeeded in the battles that prevailed against his brethren, that he delivered them from the hands of their enemies, so may Ahiah strengthen us and deliver us this day.
That was a saying that they said back then. That Father raised me up like he did Nimrod. Okay. All right, so let's go to the two Babylons. Let's go to the two Babylons, and we're going to be reading out of page 37. All right? Just was highlighted. Right. All right. And like I said, Two Babylons is a book that, everybody should have. It's very informative. Let's read it.
The Two Babylons. Page 37. When thus we find a custom that is clearly founded on a form of speech that characteristically distinguished the region where Nimrod's power was wielded, used in so many different countries far removed from one another, where no such form of speech was used in ordinary life, we may be sure that such a custom was not the result of mere accident, but that it indicates the widespread diffusion of an influence that went forth in all directions from Babylon, from the time that Nimrod first began to be mighty on the earth.
There you go. Core, that goes right with what we were reading about in Jasher, the 7th chapter. But let's go to Jasher 8. Jasher chapter 8, verses 44 to 48. in order to understand the start of these religions, you have to understand and know who started this. Now, of course, Nimrod was the start of this, but somebody had to assist Nimrod, didn't they? Mm-hmm. Somebody had to show Nimrod all this stuff, didn't they? Mm-hmm. Remember, he was a mighty hunter. He was doing everything that the Most High was asking him. Let's read.
The book of Jasher, chapter 8, verse 44.
Come on.
And Nimrod dwelt in Shinar, and he reigned securely. And he fought with his enemies, and he subdued them. And he prospered in all his battles, and his kingdom became very great.
It became very great, right? 45.
And all nations and tongues heard of his fame. And they gathered themselves to him, and they bowed down to the earth.
See that? Go ahead.
And they brought him offerings, and he became their Lord and King.
There you go. That's what did it. You're strong in the Most High, but yet and still, you don't see the Most High. You don't see a higher. But you have all these people start coming to you now. And all these people start, bowing down to you and bringing you gifts and bringing you offerings and calling you Lord, calling you King.
Pride, yeah.
One of the attributes we have on here is pride. You start to get puffed up. You start believing your own press. Finish that scripture.
And they all dwelt with him in the city at Shinar, and Nimrod reigned in the earth over all the sons of Noah, and they were all under his power and counsel.
He reigned over everybody. That's what changed it. What changed it is that these people started to hear of his fame. And when people hear of somebody who's famous, they're intrigued by him. They go off to him. They go and these were probably your first, what are they called? Paparazzi. Your first paparazzi. They're want to get a glimpse of Nimrod. Want to see Nimrod. Want to bow down to Nimrod. And that pride took over. He's like, wait a minute.
No, not
the Most High who? The Most High what?
groupies.
That too. Yes, ma'am.
When you say like the people took counsel from him, would that be demonic wisdom?
Well, probably not in the beginning.
What's more like after
After
bowing down to him and stuff?
Yes, that would be demonic wisdom. Not before. Before they started bowing down to him, the wisdom that he was bringing forth was of the Most High. But when they start bowing down to him and bringing gifts and everything, Nimrod changed. He's like, you know what? I can be as God. 46.
And all the earth was of one tongue and words of union. But Nimrod did not go in the ways of the Most High. And he was more wicked than all the men that were before him, from the days of the flood until those days.
Now, that's pretty bad, because Cain was pretty wicked.
Mm-hmm.
Cain was pretty wicked. If you read in the book of Jasher, it tells you the stuff that Cain did. It was more than just murdering Abel. Cain was pretty wicked. But Nimrod was even more wicked than Cain. And when you read Gilgamesh, you'll find out why. I was reading Gilgamesh this morning while I'm putting this together. And I was like, whoa, are you kidding me? Nimrod did some things. Okay? Verse 20, did we finish 46?
We did.
47.
And he made gods of wood and stone.
He made what?
He made gods of wood and stone.
He made gods of wood and stone. He started all this. Nimrod started all this.
Yes, he did.
Come on.
And he bowed down to them.
Nimrod was bowing down to them. Nimrod was worshiping a whole nother power. And that power was Satan. Go ahead.
And he rebelled against the Most High, and taught all his subjects and the people of the earth his wicked ways.
Taught all the people on the earth his wicked ways. Listen to this. Read.
And Mardan.
And who?
Mardan.
Who?
Mardan.
Tammuz.
Mardan.
Tammuz.
Mardan.
Go ahead.
His son.
His what?
His son.
His what?
His son.
Wait a minute. I always thought that Nimrod had one son named Tammuz. Nimrod had two sons. Let's read.
And Mardan, his son, was more wicked than his father.
He was more wicked than his father.
Mardan was more wicked than Nimrod.
Yes. Let's read. 48.
And everyone that heard of the acts of Mardan, the son of Nimrod, would say concerning him, from the wicked goeth forth wickedness.
Now you think that, wait a minute now, there was some people who, they weren't worshiping Nimrod. The people who were, let's finish verse 48 first.
Therefore it became a proverb in the whole earth, saying, from the wicked goeth forth wickedness. And it was current in the words of men from that time to this.
All right, so Nimrod had a son named Mardan. All right, and this son was wicked and evil. Right? We're going to get to Tammuz a little later. But I wanted to bring that out because there's a lot of, nobody teaches about Mardan. And in fact, some of you may not have even heard of Mardan until this day. But Mardan he's there. And he did even more wicked things than Nimrod. And one day we'll have a teaching on Mardan. Not today though. Okay? Because we want to concentrate on Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. What is this? Oh. All right, let's get to Jasher 11. Okay? So he's already rebelling against Father. And Father did not want his people in cities, because he knew if you were in close proximity to each other, that sin was going to start happening. He knew that. And that's common sense. You live in a city, you're so close in, you could easily go to places and be in sin. But if you live in the country and the next house was 2 miles away, you're really not going to sit there and say, you know what, I want to go sin. I'm going to go walk 2 miles to John's house so I can sin. That really is not going to happen. That's what Father was saying. I want my people to be spread out, not congregated in one area. Let's read Jasher 11. Let's start at verse 1.
The book of Jasher, chapter 11, verse 1.
Go ahead.
And Nimrod, son of Cush, was still in the land of Shinar. And he reigned over it, and dwelt there. And he built cities in the land of Shinar.
Just started to go off. Verse 2.
And these are the names of the 4 cities which he built. And he called their names after the occurrences that happened to them in the building of the tower.
He named them after what was being built at the tower. Okay, verse 3.
And he called the first Babel, saying, because the Most High there confounded the language of the whole earth, and the name of the second he called Erech.
Why would he called the name of a city Erech, right?
Oh, wow.
Go ahead.
Because from their power dispersed them.
The third one.
And the third he called Akkad, saying there was a great battle at that place, And the fourth he called Calneh, because his princes and mighty men were consumed there, and they vexed the Most High. They rebelled and transgressed against him.
They rebelled and transgressed. They vexed. That's something when you vex Father. That is something. You are doing a lot when you vex Father. Verse 5.
And when Nimrod had built these cities in the land of Shinar, he placed them in the remainder of his people, his princes and his mighty men that were left in his kingdom.
Verse 6.
And Nimrod dwelt in Babel, and he there renewed his reign over the rest of his subjects, and he reigned securely. And the subjects and princes of Nimrod called his name Amraphel, saying that at the tower his princes and men fell through his means. And notwithstanding this, Nimrod did not return to the Most High.
He did not go back to the Most High. If you have a pride issue and people are coming and they're giving you gifts and they're saying the world is yours, what do you need the Most High for? I got my subjects here.
So that's like a reprobate mind.
Oh yeah, he was past the reprobate mind.
It's actually called a seared heart.
Right. It's called, your conscience is seared.
Like it's
There's,
fried.
huh?
It's fried.
Seared.
Oh.
Meaning that you're against the Most High and there's no going back.
There's no going back. There's scriptures that talk about a seared heart. Once you become seared, that's it. There's no coming back. And Nimrod was seared. His heart was seared. Go ahead.
And he continued in wickedness and teaching wickedness to the sons of men.
He continued in wickedness. Go ahead.
And Mardan, his son, was worse than his father.
Come on.
And continued to add to the abomination of his father.
So Mardan, his son, continued to just be as wicked as his father. That's the fruit that Nimrod bare. But we're going to get into Tammuz. Verse 8.
And he caused the sons of men to sin. Therefore it is said, from the wicked go it forth wickedness.
All right, so let's get to two Babylons. The two Babylons on page 56. It talks about the death of Nimrod. There's several stories out there about the death of Nimrod. Okay? Let's see what the two Babylons say. You got it?
Okay.
Let's read it.
The two Babylons. Page 56. The identity of Nimrod, however, and the Egyptian Osiris having been established, we have thereby like as to Nimrod's death. Osiris met with the violent death, and that violent death of Osiris was the central theme of the whole idolatry of Egypt. If Osiris was Nimrod, as we have seen, that violent death which the Egyptians so pathetically deplored in their annual festivals was just the death of Nimrod.
Just the death of Nimrod, right? But we know how Nimrod died. Right? Okay, we're not going to get that just yet. We know how Nimrod died. He was beheaded by a 16-year-old. Esau was 16 years old when he beheaded Nimrod and took his garments. Nimrod was 212, I think. I think Nimrod was like 212 years old, walking through the forest with his 2-foot soldiers, and Esau just lurking and looking. And he smote him. Now the book of Jasher states that after he killed Nimrod, he ran, right? And he came across back to his camp. And in his camp, Jacob was fixing porridge. And Esau being so afraid of what he had just did, because let's be honest, that'll be like you doing something to somebody very famous and then running. Okay? And Jacob came to Jacob. Okay, we're not going to go into Jasher, but it's in Jasher. And then that's when Jacob said, you know what, if you want to eat this, give me your birthright. See, the Bible doesn't go into that detail. Okay? Now, the eagle of Nimrod. First of all, the symbol of Nimrod is the sun. Okay? The compass, that's also his symbol. And they use that in Freemasonry. Okay? The crescent, moon, and star is his symbol. Now, who has the crescent, moon, and star? Muslims, Islam. The crescent, moon, and star. That's another symbol of Nimrod. The solar wheel. That's another symbol of Nimrod. Who has the solar wheel? Probably don't know this. Wiccans.
Isn't that the sundial?
The solar wheel, yeah. Wiccans. Okay. The 3-layered meat tree. Right? The Pope. That's a meat tree. And it has 3 layers to it. The Pope. The cross of Horus. That's another one that comes from Egypt. All of these symbols are symbolized back to Nimrod. He created all these symbols. And that's why these religions today are all from Nimrod. All of them. Something I have here, the Kodak Theater, right? That's where the Oscars are handed out. But do you know that these stars, they go through, these so-called stars, they go through a Babylonian gate before they get there. And Nimrod it's basically Nimrod without the eagle. And it's in Hollywood. And we could break down that word Hollywood because that's satanic. That is very satanic. Just the name Hollywood. Okay, but we don't have time for that today. All right? So, sun worship, that's all about Nimrod. Sunday is all about Nimrod. Period. Okay? All right, so let's talk about this for a quick second. All right, so we got Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz, right? Nimrod, the Lord of Heaven. Tammuz is the pagan Messiah, and Semiramis is the Queen of Heaven. And I'm going to show you that when we get there later. But who else had these? Who else had these? In Lebanon, you had Baal, Tammuz, and Astoreth. The Phoenicians had El, Bacchus, and Astar. See that? Assyria had Ninus, Hercules, and Beltis. Babylon eventually called them Belus, Tammuz, Rhea, or Istar. That's where you get your Easter from, and we're going to talk about that a little later. Okay? Greece, Zeus, Dionysus, and Aphrodite. Right? Jupiter, Rome had Jupiter, Cybele, Diana, or Attis. Okay? Egypt had Ra, Osiris, Horus, Isis, and Hathor. But let's not leave it there. India had Vishnu, Krishna, Hare Krishnas. It all starts with Babylon, right? And Isa and Devaki. Guess that's how you say it. Okay? China had Panku, Yi, Hung O, Ma, Tu, So, Pu. Can't pronounce it. But China had their version of Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. Right? Mexico had Teotl, Quetzalcoatl, and I can't pronounce this one, Coatlicue. Scandinavia. Now listen to this, because we've taught on this. Scandinavia had Odin, Balder, Frigg, and Freyda. What does Odin represent?
The Babylonian symbol.
Thor.
Well, it's not the Babylonian symbol.
Thor.
Stone. Whose father?
Thor's father.
Thor's father. Okay. Freyda. Who's Freyda?
That's
But what happens? You know that on
Friday.
almost gave it away. Friday.
Friday 13th.
Okay. No, just the day Friday.
Oh.
Right.
Friday is
But
Friday freedom.
all in all, it's Satan. Satan started everything with his counterfeit religion in Babylon. It all started with Nimrod. We now know that when Nimrod died, apparently he became the sun. Now, wait a minute. Wasn't the sun shining before Nimrod's death?
Exactly.
These people are ignorant. But you know what? Semiramis, she was something else.
Crafty.
Oh, she was something else. You think about Jezebel. No, I think we need to call out the spirit of Semiramis.
Yeah.
She claimed that she gave birth to Nimrod's reborn son, who was Tammuz. Now, we all know that. Oh, and I'm going to have that later. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I don't. Never mind.
Never mind. Great. All right, so this story had traveled down through time. We're going to explain it more when we get to mother worship. Okay, we're going to talk about that a little more when we get to mother worship. And they believed that Nimrod was going through this transition as a fish god to protect them. Now, who's the fish god?
What was they smoking?
Fish guy. Isn't that the
Dagon?
song of the fish?
Dagon.
Dagon.
Oh.
Remember Dagon, the Philistine god?
Yes.
Where's Philistine? Come on, people.
Canaan.
Philistine is in the same area, right? Philistine. All right, we're getting off subject. All right, so Nimrod died, all right, and all of a sudden he became the sun, even though the sun was there. So Semiramis brought forth that story, and that Nimrod would come back reincarnated in a pine tree. No, that's Tammuz. Okay, I'm going ahead of myself. Let me stick to what I got. All right, so the papacy adopted all this stuff. Christianity became established religion by the Roman Empire and took place. They started the paganism. Christianity, as it existed in the Dark Ages, would be termed baptized paganism. That's what they called it in the Dark Ages. The early church did not agree with Christianity, but eventually the early church merged The Gilgamesh epic. And what I would say is that if you have a little spare time, check that thing out. Or the Epic of Gilgamesh. Whichever one. Tomatoes, potatoes. Let's go to the Antiquities of the Jews. This is in the Josephus. All right. Like I say, we got a lot of information to cover. We're going through a lot of books today. The Antiquity of the Jews, we're going to be at chapter 4, paragraph 2 and 3. Okay? It's not highlighted. Okay. Let's read it. Well, is that Antiquity of the Jews? Okay. And that's chapter 4, paragraph 2. Okay. All right. Did I mark it?
Because this one.
No, that's not it. Hold on. Let me see. Give me 1 second. Thought I highlighted it. Here we go. All right. Antiquity of the Jews, chapter 4, paragraph 2. There you go. It's highlighted. Bear with him. He's kind of new. He's still trying to get his feet wet in this. All right. Let's read.
The book of Josephus, the Antiquities of the Jews, chapter 4, paragraph 2. Now it was Nimrod who excited them to such an affront and contempt of Ahiah. He was the grandson of Ham, the son of Noah, a bold man, and of great strength of hand. He persuaded them not to ascribe it to the Most High, as if it was through his means they were happy, but to believe that it was their own courage which procured that happiness. He also gradually changed the government into tyranny, seeing no other way of turning men from the fear of the Most High, but to bring them into a constant dependence upon his power. He also said he would be revenged on the Most High if he should have a mind to drown the world again, for that he would build a tower too high for the waters to be able to reach.
There you go. Okay, that's one of the central contras on why Nimrod built the tower. Because he said, you know what? Let him try to do it again. Let him try to do it again. We're going to build something where there's no way he can kill us again. When sin is rampant, it is rampant. Go ahead.
And that he would avenge himself on the Most High for destroying their forefathers. I'm gonna set revenge against this guy. I'm gonna set revenge against Father. I'm gonna make sure that he paid for what he did. This is Nimrod. If that ain't a reprobate mind, I don't know what is. Go ahead. Paragraph 3. Now the multitude were very ready to follow the determination of Nimrod.
They were very ready. It's kind of like when you get that pastor and he's talking all those good and gilded words and making you feel strong and empowered, when in fact all he wants is your money. Read.
And to esteem it a piece of cowardice to submit to the Most High. And they built a tower, neither sparing any pains, nor being in any degree negligent about the work.
He says they did not spare any pains, meaning they were building so much that when they were sore, they kept on building. When their body was not functioning, they kept on going. See, when you get and you dive into sin, you don't get tired. Once that sin is over, then you're wore out. Read.
And by reason of the multitude of hands employed in it grew very high sooner than anyone could expect. expect, Salaki.
Okay? Now, Gilgamesh, Nimrod. How does Gilgamesh compare with Nimrod? The ancient historian, which we just read in Josephus, says that of Nimrod. The very same passage is found in the Gilgamesh epics. Gilgamesh set up a tyranny. He opposed the Most High in everything that he did, and he did his utmost to get the people to forsake the Most High. Gilgamesh did the exact same thing, and it's mighty funny at the exact same time frame of Nimrod. Now, you can't have two people in one period doing the same thing. But if you read the Epic of Gilgamesh, or the Gilgamesh Epic, however you want to term it, you're going to see Nimrod in there. Not the name, because the name is Gilgamesh, but it's Nimrod. It's the same person.
Well, I mean, look how Satan's name was Lucifer, and then his name was changed to Satan, the devil. So, and with our father Judah, Yahweh, his nickname was Johan. They called him Johanan as well.
So let's do this. All right. The Epic of Gilgamesh, right, Gilgamesh was a man who took control of his own strength. Genesis 10, we already read about the mighty hunter, right? But the Epic of Gilgamesh, on page number 18, it calls him a shepherd, just like Nimrod.
Does that make sense?
On page number 17, it says he's from Iraq. But they spell it U-R-U-K. When it's spelled E-R-E-C-K, it's the same city. Page 17 says that Gilgamesh was a giant. Nimrod was a giant. On page 17, it says Gilgamesh started cities. Now we know that Nimrod started and built cities, right? Page 18, he was a vile man. He took women all over the place. You're going to find out that Gilgamesh and Nimrod, they did the exact same thing. And guess what? The final bow of this is page number 18, where it talks about Gilgamesh being a mighty hunter. Why am I going to Gilgamesh? Because a lot of we'll talk about Gilgamesh later. Let's get to Semiramis. Semiramis, who cares? Because she's burning in hell right now. Okay? The ancient historian Diodorus reports that Queen Semiramis erected a 130-foot obelisk in Babylon, and it's associated with sun worship and represents the phallus of the sun god, or Nimrod. We know what an obelisk is, right? It's an erect tower. The Washington Monument. You know what that is, right?
Okay.
That's an obelisk. And that thing is representative of the male part.
Of course.
There's some perversion going on in Islam too. We're going to get to that later. Nimrod worshipped the pagan sun god Moloch. And the title, the great hunter before the face of the Most High, was ascribed to him because he literally hunted people and murdered and sacrificed these people to his pagan god. Okay? Nimrod received instruction from the priests of Moloch to marry his mother in an act of incest in order to acquire the all-seeing eye. This is in the book, the Illuminati 2. I was gracious enough to get an excerpt out of this book. That book is something else. It will teach you things. It will show you things that it will just blow your mind. And the guy has credible resources to account for the book. Okay? But we already knew that Nimrod married his mother. All right? We knew that. All right? So he married his mother to get the third eye, the all-seeing eye, from the demon Moloch, which is just basically Satan. Excuse me. Nimrod then took his wife, who he chose his mother. So the son of both the husband and the son of the mother, making this a trinity.
Wow.
It makes it a trinity. But they're not the first ones. Remember earlier we were talking about trinities. And, they were the first one. And through them came other countries, like the Chinese Trinity, whatever they are. They had that same concept of a son being born of a virgin birth. Where did you hear that from? Christianity. See, I don't know how long this teaching is going to last on YouTube. So we need to make sure that, people get an understanding, because YouTube is probably going to take it off. All right? But it's getting out there. All right, so you got the Trinity. You got the husband, and you got the son, and you got the wife/mother. So Nimrod marries his mother, and she becomes the queen of Babylon, or the queen of heaven. And it was Semiramis from which these religions started. She started all these religions. Just like when we, that assignment that we had to watch the bootlegging thing. Who was starting all these groups? Prohibition. Who was starting all these groups? It was the women. Always doing something. At least they were wearing skirts. All right? So Semiramis started all the religions surrounding Nimrod. And then that's when the astrology started. Astrology started with Semiramis. Okay? Nimrod, the mighty and ruthless hunter, was killed by a 16-year-old. Probably had zits in his face. But killed by a 16-year-old. Now, Nimrod's body was cut into pieces and spread all over his kingdom. But there was one piece that Semiramis kept.
The heart.
No.
No, don't say it. Yes, she did. No.
Yes. The flayless. Okay? So she kept that. Now, think of it like this too. Nimrod's gone. There's no ruler. She has to leave. So she concocts this story about how Nimrod is a son and the rays of the sun impregnated her. She had to come up with something because she didn't want to lose her power. She didn't want to lose her authority. See, Semiramis is worse than Jezebel. Far worse than Jezebel. And maybe that's a spirit we need to be casting out of women.
It is.
Okay.
I'm telling you, it is.
Okay. So she gave birth to Tammuz, who she claimed was the reincarnation of Nimrod. And through the belief that Tammuz was Nimrod in the flesh, the people bowed down to him. They submitted to him. They submitted to her. Because they're like, wait a minute, this is Nimrod came back? Oh, we gotta continue to bow down. This is how the unholy concept of the Trinity was born. The Babylonian Empire was the first to attempt a one world government or a new world order. This human attempt at global governance was used with dark knowledge, astrology, pagan god worship, and was an abomination to the Most High God. Since the languages are now confused, the names of Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz were changed over culture and times. It was changed. And we just read a list of all those quote-unquote gods. Okay? Semiramis, however, became the queen of heaven among cultures and worshipped as primary head of this false religion. Even Israelites fell into that. So the worship of Semiramis, the queen of heaven, the YHVH, and all of that. But Jeremiah was sent to warn them. Let's go to Jeremiah 44.
So the spirit for Semiramis would be incest, right?
Yeah, we can put incest under Semiramis. We'll probably put power.
Can't put
Control.
We can probably put control.
Liar. Huh?
Could be witchcraft or
Liar.
Liar. Witchcraft. She is the first witch.
What else did she kept like her son? Well, she kept his peace. Is that like a folly spirit? Like
She didn't keep her son. Well, yeah,
Is that like
Tammuz. I mean,
fetish?
Nimrod was his
Is
son.
that like a fetish for her? Like, or she
I'm
just
sure
wanted
it is.
peace?
That must
Sick
be
thing.
what
Yeah,
that's
like
going.
a folly spirit. That's what she
I'm sure it is.
said. You didn't write it down.
Folly spirit, that's not really a folly spirit. That's something a little more perverted. All right, let's read Jeremiah 44, verse 17 to 19.
I know.
And see, the Most High, he knows about Semiramis. He knows about her, right? But she's more than just in Jeremiah 44. I'm going to show you where else she's located in the Bible. But let's read Jeremiah 44, because that's the popular one. 17, 19, let's read.
Jeremiah chapter 44, verse 17.
Come on.
But we will certainly do whatsoever thing goeth forth out of our own mouth, to burn incense unto the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her,
Go ahead.
as we have done, we and our fathers, our kings and our princes, in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem. For then had we plenty of victuals, and were well, and saw no evil.
So see, just like in Babylon times, when Nimrod was on the scene and Nimrod was operating, they saw wellness. They saw all this plenty. And the same thing with Judah, giving offerings and incense to the Queen of Heaven. 18.
But since we left off to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven, and to pour out drink offerings unto her, we have wanted all things, and have been consumed by the sword and by the famine.
Go ahead.
And when we burned incense to the Queen of Heaven, and poured out drink offerings unto her, did we make her cakes to worship her, and pour out drink offerings unto her without our men?
Make cakes unto her to worship her. What kind of cakes do you think those were? Birthday cakes to honor and worship her. Okay? Pour out drink offerings unto her.
Like the
They
guys on
tainted
the-
what our drink offerings were for. They were for Father. But now, Judah decided, you know what? The Most High who? We're going to have our drink offerings now for the Queen of Heaven. Totally fell off. The depiction of the children being sacrificed to the two-horned god Moloch, even today, that's going on in the Bohemian Grove. It's the same thing that goes on at Bohemian Grove that went on in Babylon times. It's the same thing, offering children as sacrifice. Obelisks were constructed as part of this religion. Notice that there's a huge obelisk in the Vatican, right smack in the middle. But we know that the Vatican has all kinds of wicked idols and evil tree all over the place. The obelisk sits at the center of St. Peter's Square of the Vatican, which supposedly is the birthplace of Christianity. And it's surrounded by these pagan gods. Okay? And our obelisk is the Washington Monument, as we said earlier. These obelisks, to this day, grace the top of Christian churches. You ever see the church and it has a little, that's an obelisk. We just call them steeples.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the same thing. And it's adorned with the cross of Tammuz at the top of it. It's not the cross of Christ. In fact, that cross represents Tammuz.
Yeah.
It doesn't represent Christ. Doesn't represent Yeshua. So, as we worship the Trinity on Sun God Day, Christians are still 100% Catholic in doctrine. Same. Protestants, they're Catholics. They're just protesting Catholics. Lutherans are Catholics. Christianity, Catholicism. The Lutherans, Protestants, Christianity, those are just the daughters of Babylon. This religion created in Babylon by Nimrod and Semiramis is making them rich, and people had to pay to their temple to sacrifice their babies. And that was done on the winter solstice, December 25th. Also, Easter or Ishtar services, that was in the spring, about March 25th. So if you get March 25th to December 25th, how many months is it? 9. Who are you worshiping? You're worshiping the impregnation of Tammuz and the birth of Tammuz. Okay? Yes.
So the spirit of Jezebel isn't like called the spirit of Jezebel. It came from Semiramis.
Yeah, Jezebel came from Semiramis. There's a root. And Semiramis is that root.
Like we were talking about during the deliverance service last night, we were talking about gatekeepers. So what's her name?
Semiramis.
Semiramis.
Mm-hmm.
She's the gatekeeper of Jezebel.
Right.
She's stronger than Jezebel. So
way
she's casting
stronger.
out Jezebel, and people think that they're delivered from Jezebel, in which, yes, she has given up Jezebel. Remember we said the gatekeeper would give up the smaller, the lesser demons to keep themselves covered. But why is it that somebody been going through deliverance for 2 or 3 years and you study casting out Jezebel, so they can get cast out, the person is fine for like every 1 to 2 months, and then you have that woman acting in the spirit of Jezebel, and you be like, wait a minute, didn't we just cast this out of you? Like, didn't the Most High just set you free? Yes, from the spirit of Jezebel, but that's not the root. This is the root.
Is Semiramis.
And under Semiramis is so many other
spirits. Right.
So we have to go in and use the hook of a higher to drag this spirit out, to expose it, to break it down, you know, and then that person will be completely set free.
All right. So this is done to commemorate the impregnation of Semiramis with Tammuz, and then December 25th, the birth. Okay? Then they will offer up the newborns to the altar of Moloch, Nimrod, on December 25th. A few months later, on Easter Sunday, they would offer up more infants to the goddess Easter or Ishtar, the moon goddess Semiramis. They would take the blood of these sacrificed infants and dip eggs and called them Easter eggs. That's where you get the dyeing of eggs. Right now they use dye, but back then they used blood.
Oh my goodness.
Okay? So Nimrod was killed by his enemies, his body parts distributed all over the kingdom. Semiramis attempted to gather the body parts and accomplish in retrieving all the parts except for the privates. Okay? Which we know she kept. After the death of her son/husband, Semiramis began to formulate what's now called Mystery Babylon.
Wow.
And where is that in the Bible? We're going to get that too. It started with Mystery Babylon. And her new religion proclaimed that Nimrod was defeated in death, elevated as a sun god, and literally became the sun.
And people believe that.
Yeah, they did believe it.
Oh, I know
But
why.
Mystery Babylon. So we're going to get Mystery Babylon.
That's
Yes,
that
ma'am.
witch, that mind control of
Yeah.
the witch.
Before we get Mystery Babylon, let's get 1 Samuel chapter 12. Yes, 1 Samuel chapter 12, verse 10. Okay? So we're going to get a few more scriptures on Estar. Okay, let's read. You got it?
Got it.
1 Samuel chapter 12, verse 10. All right, let's read.
1 Samuel chapter 12, verse 10. And they cried unto the Most High and said, We have sinned, because we have forsaken the Most High, and have served Baalim
Served Baalim, Nimrod,
and Ashtaroth.
and Ashtaroth, Semiramis. Go ahead.
But now deliver us out of the hand of our enemies, and we will serve thee.
See that? Let's get another scripture. Let's go to chapter 7. 1 Samuel chapter 7, verses 3 and 4. All right, so let's read.
1 Samuel chapter 7, verse 3. And Samuel spake unto all the house of Israel, saying, If ye do return unto the Most High with all your hearts, then put away the strange gods and Ashtaroth from among you, and prepare your hearts unto the Most High, and serve him only, and he will deliver you out of the hand of the Philistines.
He said, get rid of those strange gods and get rid of Ashtaroth, which is just another name for Istar, which is just another name for Semiramis, which is just another name for Easter.
The devil.
Verse 4.
Then the children of Israel did put away Baalim and Ashtaroth.
So they put away Nimrod and Semiramis. Go ahead.
And served the Most High only.
And serve the Most High only. So we got incest, power, control, liar, witchcraft for Semiramis, right? Semiramis, being the mother of Nimrod, in addition to his queen, elevated herself as the mother of God. That's where the Queen of Heaven comes in. Because she said, because Nimrod is the son now and he's God, I am the queen of God.
So she was the moon. He's the sun and she's the moon.
Yeah. Semiramis later became pregnant, and not wanting to destroy the image of her being a god, declared that Nimrod, the sun god, is now called Baal, which later was used as Zeus, right? So let's now get an understanding. Tammuz was never Nimrod's son.
No, he wasn't.
She was a harlot.
That's what I said. And they had nerves to try to say Yeshaya.
We know who Nimrod's son is because the book of Jasher tells us who Nimrod's son is.
Yeah.
Right there on the board. Harlot.
Mardon is Nimrod's son.
Right.
Where did Tammuz come from? Who conceived in Tammuz? We don't know. Okay? But Semiramis thought of this. See, everybody back then knew who Mordok was. It even said that he did more wicked than his father did. But then, what about Tammuz? Because even back in those days, when women would fornicate like that, they would be put to death. We're going to get that later. They would be put to death. Semiramis was like, wait a minute, you can't do that to me because I am Queen of Heaven. I am the mother of God. So she had to cover it up. She had been given a virgin birth to her son named Tammuz, who she claimed was reincarnation of Nimrod. See that? But Christianity pulls a virgin birth also. But so does every other religion out there. So Tammuz was believed to be the sun god of Baal in the flesh, and at the same time the son of God. The two, Semiramis and Tammuz, became worshipped just like the Madonna and the child. Same thing. Or Mary and Jesus. The same thing.
Same thing.
These are idols, and they were just renamed because of the different cultures. But they were just renamed. But they were all idols. We know Madonna and the child is an idol. Later on, it became Mary and Jesus. Same thing. Where did they get it from? Tammuz was supposed to be a great hunter like his supposed father Nimrod. Tammuz was killed by a wild pig. Right? Semiramis then had to come up with a new religion. So she's an inventor.
Oh, okay. But she had the spirit of the Kudu.
She's an inventor. Because Semiramis now expanded this religion and called her son immortal. And he died and resurrected and became one with with his father. And that's how the Trinity was born. But how was he erected?
She is an inventor. Then she invented December 25th.
I'm getting there.
Oh, sorry.
Tammuz, like Nimrod is the sun, Tammuz, the tree.
The Christmas tree.
AKA your pine tree. Nimrod was dead. Tammuz was dead. He came up as a tree, and people put gifts to Tammuz under the pine tree. Where did this come from? Babylon. Yes.
They have a story like that with the daughter of Zeus. She died and Zeus had her grow as a tree.
Oh, well.
It just lies all over the
That's
place.
all over the place. We got an excerpt from a book called The Religions of Ancient Greece and Babylon. This book is by A.H. Sayce, and we're going to be reading pages 229 and 230. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay. I want you to read this. Right now?
Many of the theories of Egyptian religion, modified and transformed, no doubt, have penetrated into theology of Christian Europe and form, as it were, part of the woof in the web of modern religious thought.
So, Egypt, Christianity. Go ahead.
Christian theology was largely organized and nurtured in the schools of Alexandria. And Alexandria was not only the meeting place of East and West, it was also the place where the decrepit theology of Egypt was revivified by contact with the speculative philosophy of Greece.
So we're going to do a teaching next week from Egypt to Greece to Rome. And you're going to see everything that we're talking about. You're going to see that come to light. But you're also going to find out who was the people who did it. Go ahead.
Perhaps, however, the indebtedness of Christian theological theory to ancient Egyptian dogma is nowhere more striking than in the doctrine of the Trinity.
Mm-hmm.
The very terms used of it by Christian theologians meet us again in the inscriptions and pottery of Egypt.
So where is Christianity getting their stuff from? They're getting it from Egypt, who got it from Babylon. Go ahead.
Originally, the Trinity was a triad like those we find in Babylonian mythology.
There you go. Come on.
The triad consisted of a divine father, wife, and son. The father became the son, and the son the father through all time. And of both alike, the mother was but another form.
There you go. I really got to get this book. Bart, can you write this down? The religions of ancient Greece and Babylonia.
So is it kind of like she just spread it like her own false doctrine and people just picked up on it and got twisted it and twisted it?
Yep. Go ahead and finish that.
Armed with her new religion, Semiramis continued on conquering and expanding her world government system and was a very powerful, effective ruler over much of Assyria. This chapter is only intended to define the religion created by Semiramis, known as the goddess of Ishtar /Isis /Diana. Among other names, that has come to be known as the mystery religion of Babylon, so that we can identify how that religion evolved to this very day.
And the Bible goes up against the mystery religion of Babylon. And when John was in Revelation, he called it out. Let's go Revelation 17. Revelation chapter 17, verse 1. And let's read it.
Revelation chapter 17, verse 1.
Go ahead.
And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will shew unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters.
The great whore that sits upon many waters. Go ahead.
With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication.
Go ahead.
So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color.
Hold there. Now, we know that this is talking about Catholicism, because that's all the Pope wears. White, purple, and scarlet.
The head of Dagon.
That's right.
Read.
And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication.
Verse 5.
And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great. Mystery Babylon the Great.
Who?
Mystery Babylon the Great.
There you go. Come on.
The mother of harlots and abominations of the earth.
There you go. Semiramis. Let's just keep it simple. Semiramis.
Yeah.
There you go. There she is. Revelation 17. Semiramis. Let's finish verse 6 and 7.
And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yeshua. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns.
And the 7 heads and the 10 horns, we all know that that is pagan. Yes.
Okay, so it's in Mystery Babylon, right?
Yes.
So the woman that sit up on the beast is Semiramis?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
We finally know
Okay.
what we
Because
said.
everybody, they be like, oh, you know. But what was said that the cup she had that she was drinking was abomination, and that it was the different religions of the world.
It is.
And that's what
And that's what she started it. So she's going to be the one that's holding the cup of fornication.
That's what she drinking, the different religions of the world.
She's drinking the blood
of the saints.
of the saints. And the saints are not the saints of the Most High.
It's the ones that's following these fake religions.
Correct.
No.
All right, let's go to, we're going to read from the 2 Babylons.
It's that woman again.
It's that woman.
That's that woman you gave.
2 Babylons, page 121, right? Let's read that.
The 2 Babylons, page 121. According to the Chaldean doctrine, Semiramis, the wife of Ninus or Nimrod, when exalted to divinity under the name of the Queen of Heaven, came, as we have seen, to be worshipped as Juno. The dove.
The what?
The dove.
The what?
The dove.
The dove.
Wait, what?
Oh, they tripping.
Read.
In other words, the Holy Spirit incarnate.
There you go. Just throw it all out the window.
So people referring to the Holy Spirit as the dove, but it's really not.
It's worshipped as Juno, the Queen of Heaven. Read.
Now, when her husband, for his blasphemous rebellion against the majesty of heaven, was cut off, for a season it was a time of tribulation also for her.
Time of tribulation also for her.
Oh wow.
Right? All right. Now let's be realistic about something. All right? Let's be realistic about something. Okay? When Yeshua got baptized, what happened?
They
They said
a dove.
just like they changed the name and other things, they could have changed that as well. The Holy Spirit come upon me. Ain't no dove on me.
Right. It's symbolic. It's symbolary. Tricky something. Symbolic. Right?
That's what it really is.
The Holy Spirit is not representative of a dove or of fire. It's just not. All of these are pagan.
They can take this off of YouTube.
All of these are pagan. Now there was cloven tongues, right? There were cloven tongues at the day of Pentecost.
But that could have been angels.
But that's exactly what they were. So see, it's deception. That's what it is. The dove is deception. We got the 2 Babylon, and I told you, and I keep telling you all, you got to get. I know that these books, it may take some time to get them, but you got to get them, because the things that are in these books, and when you read them, you're like, wait, that totally makes sense. Let's go to the 2 Babylons, page 174. Okay, let's read that.
Now, while Semiramis, the real original of the Chaldean Queen of Heaven, to whom the unbloody sacrifice of the Mass was first offered, was in her own person, as we have already seen.
Now, excuse me. The unbloody sacrifice of the Mass was first offered. We're going to explain that a little later. I can't believe we're only here. We got a little bit to go. Go ahead.
The very paragon of impurity. She at the same time affected the greatest favor for that kind of sanctity, which looks down with contempt on the Most High's holy ordinance of marriage.
Contempt of marriage, right? Feminists. We're running low on space here. Feminist.
Yep, you can add feminist to it.
First feminist movie.
Oh man, now you women, you see.
Oh, that looks bad.
You can't
So many things under that gatekeeper of Semiramis.
All right, so the mysteries over which she presided were the scenes of rank pollution. And yet, the higher orders of priesthood were bound by a life of celibacy, right? Priests being celibate. They can't do the do, right? Strange as it may seem, yet a voice of antiquity assigns to the abandoned queen for the intervention of clerical celibacy. That's where they get the celibacy from. They get it from Semiramis. In some countries, Egypt, human nature asserted its rights through the general system of Babylon was retained. The yoke of celibacy was abolished, and the priesthood at that time was permitted to marry. But scholars know when the worship of Cybele, the Babylonian goddess, was introduced in pagan Rome, that started the celibacy clergy. That started it. They started it. Egypt, they were like, wait a minute, these are men. They have urges. Stop. But then it started back again. Let's talk about Tammuz for a second. Tammuz. The two Babylons, we're going to be reading from page 26. Okay. All right, let's read.
It was from the sun, however, that she derived all her glory and her claims to deification. That son, though represented as a child in his mother's arms, was a person of great stature and immense bodily powers, as well as most fascinating manners. In scripture, he is referred to Ezekiel chapter 8 verse 14 under the name of Tammuz, but he is commonly known among classical writers under the name of Bacchus.
Under the name of what?
Bacchus.
Under the name of what?
Bacchus.
Under the name of Bacchus. There you go. Come on.
That is the lamented one.
Go ahead.
From Bacchus to weep or lament. Among the Phoenicians says Hesychus. Bacchus means weeping. As the women wept for Tammuz, so did they for Bacchus. Oh, wow.
There you go.
Let's get scripture. Ezekiel chapter 8.
Ooh, bring it out. You can't say
So that's what
bring it out.
Ezekiel chapter 8, verses 12 through 14. All right. Let's read it.
Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 12.
Come on.
Then said he unto me, Son of man, hast thou seen what the ancients of the house of Israel do in the dark? Every man in the chambers of his imagery.
So hold there. Just because you sit in the dark don't mean that Father can't see it. All right, so we would put that out there. You guys on YouTube, you guys live streaming with us. If you sin in the dark, Father sees you. Go ahead.
For they say, the Most High seeth us not.
Father can't see me. Father can't see me. I'm in the dark. Read.
The Most High hath forsaken the earth.
Go ahead.
He said also unto me, Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abominations that they do.
So greater abominations than committing sin in the dark. Go ahead.
Then he brought me to the door of the gate of the Most High's house, which was toward the north, and behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz.
There saw women weeping for Tammuz.
This was in the tabernacle, correct?
This is in the, yes.
Oh, they tripping.
Yes, it was.
The gate of the Most High.
Yeah, it's in the temple.
Yes, it was. It was in the temple that these
Yeah.
women were clowning. That's what they were doing.
Yeah.
They weren't sitting up there, oh.
You know what I'm talking about?
No, they were doing the dun, 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 dun. You know, they was doing all that.
Yeah, they
You
were
know.
doing that.
They was doing all that.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then the elders who were with their back turned, eventually, you know, stuff started to happen.
Because Tammuz was supposed to be so fine and so smart.
Yes. Okay. We got the two Babylons, page 88. Yes.
Is that equivalent today to the Christian church with the women when they get the is Bacchus the or is Kundalini?
No.
It's Bacchus.
Bacchus.
It's spirit of Bacchus when they're jumping around, gyrating,
AKA Tammuz.
Yeah.
spitting all over the place. That's Bacchus. Okay. Two Babylons, page 88. Okay, let's read that.
Even where the sun was the favorite object of worship, as in the Babylon itself and elsewhere, at this festival he was worshipped not merely as the orb of day, but as the Most High incarnate,
Notice God.
but as God incarnate.
Go ahead.
It was an essential principle of the Babylonian system that the son of Baal was the one only God.
Mm-hmm.
When therefore Tammuz was worshipped as God incarnate, that implied also that he was an incarnation of the Son.
Son. Of the Son. And that's S-U-N, not S-O-N. Okay. Weeping for Tammuz. According to the Catholics, Lent is derived from 40 days when Yeshua spent fasting in the wilderness. But it is admitted through the observations of Lent was unknown to the disciples. They did not know about any Lent in the early church. And it did not find its way into the church until several centuries after Yeshua came. Lent was an indispensable preliminary to the great annual festa in the commemoration of the death and resurrection of Tammuz, which was celebrated by alternating weeping and rejoicing. So for 40 days, it's connected with the Babylonian goddess Ishtar, the original word for Easter, which is the worship of Tammuz. That's what Lent is.
So what spirit are we at? What spirit for Tammuz?
You want to tell me?
But, hold on though. But
I mean,
Yeah,
why
Bacchus.
did-
You could say Bacchus.
But why did they change it to from Tammuz to Bacchus? Like, I don't get it.
I'll get that.
Is that a good question?
You could say bastard. For real.
Just say Easter.
Him is.
What did you say?
Imposter.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I thought it was
False deity, Antichrist.
Well, he wouldn't be called an antichrist because of the fact that he was before Christ.
A poser.
Okay. All right. So, Lent, 40 days, right? And 40 days in the Bible is very, very significant. So if you're going to have other things of 40 days, you might as well throw something satanic in it, right? It rained 40 days and 40 nights, right? Genesis 7. 40 days, the mountains was seen, right? 40 days. And Noah sent a raven and then a dove out, right? Joseph mourned the death of his father Jacob for 40 days. That's Genesis 49:33. Okay? Moses on Mount Sinai for 40 days. Right? Moses pleaded for Israel for 40 days on Mount Sinai. That's Deuteronomy 9:18. Canaan was spied on for 40 days. That's Numbers 13:25. So the number 40 is very significant in the Bible. And if you're going to have a number that's significant in the Bible, why not throw a little pagan idolatry in it while you're at it? Right? Goliath taunted Israel for 40 days. Okay? Elijah fasted and journeyed to Horeb for 40 days. Ezekiel bore the iniquity for Judah for 40 days. Jonah warned Nineveh about the judgment that was going to happen, and that was supposed to be in 40 days. Yeshua, we all know, fasted in the wilderness for 40 days, and after Yeshua was resurrected, after he was crucified, he was seen for 40 days. Okay, let's get the two Babylons, page 106. So Lent has everything to do with Tammuz and nothing to do with you fasting or giving up something. Nothing to do with that. It's all a celebration for Tammuz.
Isn't that when they have the Ash Wednesdays and they put the cross on their forehead?
Right. That starts it. That starts it, right? Former Roman Catholics. All praises to the Most High that you're not there no more. All right, but that starts it. You put dust and dirt on your head, and then you walk around for that day with that dirt on your head.
So what's the difference in strapping a cube to your head?
No. All right, let's go to the two Babylons, page 106. Let's read that about Tammuz.
Among the pagans, this Lent seems to have been an indispensable preliminary to the great annual festival in the commemoration of the death and resurrection of Tammuz, which was celebrated by alternate weeping and rejoicing, and which in many countries was considerably later than the Christian festival, being observed in the Palestine and Assyria in June, therefore called the month of Tammuz in Egypt, about the middle of May, and in Britain sometime in April.
So this festival for Tammuz is all over the place. Just like Easter is all over. Well, Easter technically is not all over the place. They're just following the sun equinox. The sun equinox, I think it is.
Which is Easter is the same. Semiramis the moon.
Right. They're just following the equinox. Let's continue.
To conciliate the pagans to nominal Christianity, Rome, pursuing its usual policy, took measures to get the Christian and pagan festivals amalgamated, and by a complicated but skillful adjustment of the calendar.
They're going to change times. Daniel the 7th chapter. Read.
It was found no difficult matter in general to get paganism and Christianity.
You got to get paganism and Christianity together. Okay, you got to get them together. Read.
Now far sunk in idolatry, in this as in so many other things, to shake hands.
There you go. Like I said, this may be taken down. But we give all praise to the Most High because it's reaching people now. Okay? Let's get 2 Kings chapter 23, verse 5. Let's read.
2 Kings chapter 23, verse 5.
And I want you to hold in 2 Kings because we're going to be there for a minute. Read.
And he put down the idolatrous priests whom the kings of Judah had ordained to burn incense in the high places in the cities of Judah, and in the places round about Jerusalem, them also that burn incense unto Baal, to the sun, and to the moon, and to the planets, and to all the host of heaven.
There you go. There you go. Let's skip down to verse 11. All right, and later this summer, or probably next month, we're going to have a teaching on the kings of Israel and Judah. Okay, that's coming probably in August. All right, let's read this. 2 Kings 23, 11 through 13.
2 Kings chapter 23, verse 11. And he took away the horses that the kings of Judah had given to the son.
They took away the horses that the kings of Judah had given to the son. Read.
At the entering in of the house of the Most High, by the chamber of Nathan Melech, the chamberlain, which was in the suburbs, and burned the chariots of the sun with fire.
Come on.
And the altars that were on the top of the upper chamber of Ahaz, which the kings of Judah had made, and the altars which Manasseh had made in the two courts of the house of the Most High, did the king beat down, and break them down from thence, and cast the dust of them into the brook of Kidron.
Manasseh? What? Remember when I said that the person who probably is the worst sinner of all time was Manasseh? But you have to read what Manasseh did. Nimrod really didn't throw children on Moloch and burnt them like that. Manasseh did. Okay, yeah. Manasseh was. You want to rank them? Rank Nimrod 1, Manasseh 1A. That's how close they were. Manasseh murdered thousands, and I mean thousands, of children. Offered them up, but they kind of do that today, and I'm gonna show you something. Yes, sir.
Well, where do you rank Martyr? Because it said he did worse than Nimrod.
Rank who?
Mardon.
Yeah.
Oh, Mardon. I don't know. He's part of Nimrod. 1B.
It said he did worse than Nimrod.
Yeah, but who started it?
Nimrod. Well, usually that's how sin goes. Like you have the parent who was a sinner. Then the parents have a children, and one of them children or all of them are like super sinners.
But who started it?
The father.
The father.
Yeah.
Right? Let's finish.
Verse 13.
Come on.
And the high places that were before Jerusalem, which are on the right hand of the mount of corruption, which Solomon the king of Israel had builded for Ashtaroth, the abomination of the Zidonians, for the Chemosh, the abomination of the Moabites, and for Milcom, the abomination of the children of Ammon, did the king defile.
Okay. Baal, Tammuz, Ashtaroth, Astar, Istar are all connected with pagan sun worship. And note that Lent is movable observance connected to the preceding festival of Easter. And because Easter moves around, Lent moves around. Okay? Easter is celebrated on a day specified by only the Roman Catholic Church and not by the Bible, and has a fixed base on the sun and the spring or vernal, the equinox. Okay, so that's where Easter falls in. So everything is false.
So
Yes.
if the Lent's supposed to be for Catholics, Catholicism, why is it that you have Christianity?
Lent's for everybody.
Oh,
The Catholics are the ones who they do it, but in all actuality, anybody does Lent.
yeah, I remember.
I mean, there's people whom I know, and I'm not saying where I know them from, but there's people who I know who celebrate Lent, and they're not Catholics.
No, they're Christians.
Okay?
Yes, sinners. 300.
Religion is stopping us from being with the Most High. The Roman Catholic Church does, they do churches. Think of it though. The Roman Catholic Church is the biggest charity there is. They got churches, they got hospitals, they got adoptions, they got all that. But why do they have that? They have that because what they do is they go in and they destroy the country, and then they put in the churches and the hospitals and the youths who are left astray and adopt them. The Jesuits do everything, and they have done everything to destroy. And the first thing they do when they go in and they destroy a place, The first thing they do is institutionalize religion.
And who was
Yes.
that biggest servant? What was her name?
I don't
The
know.
Catholic Church just made her saint last year.
I don't know.
Mother Teresa. Yes.
Oh.
She had hospital, charities, everything.
Okay.
Shelters for homeless kids, everything, like what you just said.
Right. So that's what the Roman Catholic Church does. And they're really the only religion that does that. They go in, they destroy the infrastructure, and then what they do is they start building up churches, and they start building up hospitals, and all that. Every war was started from religion. Every war was started from religion. It wasn't about oil or anything like that. It's always have been about religion. All right, let's get the book of Nimrod. And we're going to be reading from pages 29 and 30. It should be highlighted. Yeah, with the X. Okay. Yep. All right, let's read it.
The book of Nimrod, page 29.
All of them.
Everyone would now bow before her, and everyone would follow her. Otherwise, she would be just another woman and probably killed.
You hear that? We're talking about Semiramis. Go ahead.
Back then, men didn't listen to women. They ruled with an iron fist. Semiramis was different though, or so they thought. She had the authority of her husband who was being worshipped as a god.
Mm-hmm.
Her authority was firmly established when her priests proclaimed her as the queen of heaven.
They proclaimed her as queen of heaven because of the story that she concocted. Go ahead.
And equal to the Father. She was now considered the third person of the Holy Trinity.
Mm-hmm.
Before Semiramis, the Trinity consisted of the Father, the Son, and the Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Images were built to symbolize the Akkad, the absolute oneness of the triune God. The first was a head of an older man symbolizing the Father.
Mm-hmm.
The head of the second would be a circle symbolizing the seed,
Mm-hmm.
which would be the Son. The third image was a dove symbolizing the Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Semiramis, being declared Queen of Heaven, altered the Holy Trinity.
They altered it. Go ahead.
The dove image now betrays the Great Mother, which symbolizes the feminine side of the great God.
Mm-hmm.
This false image has spread throughout the civilized world.
It spread. The dove. Oh, that's the Holy Spirit symbol. Oh, mother. No. It's a demon. Read.
You will find the influences and image of this warped trinity in China,
Warped Trinity. China. Go ahead.
Japan,
Japan.
and India.
India. Remember, we didn't have names for Japan, but we had the names for China and India, right? Krishna was one of them, if I remember right. India. Go ahead.
Even though Semiramis and Tammuz have been dead for thousands of years, the statues have remained and are still worshipped today.
One of them is the Statue of Liberty.
There you go.
Go ahead.
Semiramis has gone the way of all flesh. She is dead and has had to stand in front of the Most High of all creations. Not in front of her husband, who was already dead and judged.
Not in front of her husband. She wasn't standing in front of her husband. When she died, she was face to face with the Most High himself. Judgment. Judgment. Tammuz. Tammuz too. Nimrod. When he died, he did not become a son. He's burning in hell right
He was in
now.
a place that was like the sun, though.
Semiramis, burning in hell right now. Tammuz, burning in hell right now. And all those people who are bowing and giving them gifts, burning in hell right now. You would have been burning in hell too, because you did it every December 25th. Read.
She is in hell with her husband and their son, waiting for the final judgment, which is the lake of fire. She had been gone for a long, long time. However, the harm caused by the false teaching of her, Nimrod, and Tammuz is still very active in the world today.
It is. It's very active in the world today. And I'm going to show you that. Go ahead.
Wherever you go in the world today, in whatever religion you embrace, you will find the statue of Semiramis and Tammuz.
You find with Catholics, the Mother Mary and the Son incarnate. And then with Christianity, you'll find Mary and Jesus.
And they just
Not
went
Islam.
Joseph.
Islam, we're going to talk about Islam. They're a little different. Go ahead.
In modern times, we view them in the supposed image of Mary and the Christ child.
Mm-hmm.
However, this is not the true image of the Madonna or Mary, the mother of Jesus. Neither is it the image of Jesus, the Son of Man, and of Salakia. Neither is it the image of Yeshua.
You can say Jesus. That's what's in the book. Yep.
The image of Jesus, the Son of Man, and of God. Instead, these are the image of Nimrod's wife, the blasphemous queen of heaven, and their son, the false sun god.
Mm-hmm.
They are not the images of the Holy Family as people today call them.
No.
They are the most unholy family that ever lived.
The most unholy family that ever lived. Oh my goodness. So you got your idols with your Catholics, you got your rosary bead. In fact, Catholics, you can't go into their building without tripping over idols or stomping your foot against an idol. All right? Christians, they got their idols too with the cross. Muslims, they got it with the Kaaba stone. All right? Read.
Nimrod's rebellion and his refusal to bow to the God of creation started the greatest nightmare on the earth today.
Started the greatest nightmare, religion. Go ahead.
Witchcraft and the occult.
Mm-hmm.
His actions and deeds caused the floodgates of hell to open wide on the earth. The evil beings God banished with the flood were coming back. The sons of God were once again intermixing with the daughters of men.
Remember, that's from Genesis 6. So see, this is why Nimrod is number one. This is why Nimrod is number one, by far.
This punishment gonna be great.
Okay, let's get Exodus chapter 20. Shirt it up. All right, Exodus chapter 20, verse 1 through 5.
Exodus chapter 20, got it.
All right, let's read.
Exodus chapter 20, verse 1. And the Most High spake all these words, saying, I am a higher thy power, which has brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
Come on.
Thou shalt have no other gods before me.
Commandment number 1. No other gods before me. Go ahead.
Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth.
Come on.
Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them.
That's what they were doing with Nimrod, bowing themselves down. Commandment number 3 says you shall not do that. Go ahead.
For I, the Most High, thy power, am a jealous God.
We're going to have a teaching on on father's jealousy. All right, read.
Visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me.
That's bad. Right? Earrings and rings. We call those items precious. Right? Precious gemstones. Right? We value material things more than life itself. What are the people over the jewelry? Let's look at the word jewelry. Right? J-E-W.
Jew. Coswords.
There you go. See that? Wow. They're the ones who are over the jewelry. They're the ones who they pray the evilness over the jewelry. And we go and we buy this stuff. Right? All of that goes back to ancient Babylon. All of it. The trinkets, the idols, everything is idolatry. The necklaces, the earrings, the rings, all of that is idolatry. Everything. Let's get 2 Peter. 2 Peter chapter 2, verses 2 through 4. We're somewhat done. Okay, let's read.
2 Peter chapter 2, verse 2.
Come on.
And many shall follow their pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of.
People are going to follow their wicked ways. They're set in their ways. You know, read.
And through covetousness shall they with vain words make merchandise of you.
Covetousness. Covetousness. There's a commercial when I was driving to work one day this week, and it was a jewelry commercial. We have the best gemstones in the country, and if you buy a gemstone, we'll match it and certify it and all that. Covetousness. All of it is covetousness. Read.
Whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not.
Come on.
For if the Most High spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell, and delivered them into chains of darkness, to be reserved unto judgment, and
that's to be judged unto. No, that's verse 4. We stopped at verse 4. All right, let's go to Jude. And just read 6 and 7. Jude verses 6 and 7. All right. Go ahead.
The book of Jude, verse 6. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he hath reserved in everlasting chains under darkness, under the judgment of the great day, even as Sodom and Gomorrah, and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire.
So I brought these scriptures in because if Father did that to those angels who fell, what do you think he's going to do to his creation? Let's go to the book of Enoch. The book of Enoch, chapter 1, verse 9. Why are we in the book of Enoch? Because in the book of Jude, most of that, what he was reading, was coming from Enoch. It's another book. And in fact, hold that, because I want to go back to those books again. So hold Enoch 1 and 9. So there's another book called The Story of Prophet Iddo. And that's 2 Chronicles 13:22. Okay, that's another book. Okay, there's the book Visions of Iddo the Seer. I think we said these already. Maybe not. 2 Chronicles chapter 9, verse 29. Okay. We have Iddo genealogies. Okay. 2 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 15. Let's get these. Let's get these. Let's get 2 Chronicles 2:15, 2 Chronicles 20:34, and 2 Chronicles 33:19. So 2 Chronicles 12:15, 2 Chronicles 20:34, and 2 Chronicles 33:19. Because some smart person may be saying, well, you know what? That elder, he's just making up stuff because he's not reading the scripture. So how we know what he's talking about? So 2 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 15 are the idol genealogies. It's a book. So let's read that. You got it?
Got it.
All right, let's read 2 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 15 from the Bible. Go ahead.
2 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 15.
Come on.
Now the acts of Rehoboam, first and last, are they not written in the book of Shemaiah the prophet?
All right, we already talked about Shemaiah the prophet earlier. Are they not written there? Go ahead.
And of Edo the seer, concerning genealogies?
Edo genealogies. Are they not there? Read.
And there were wars between Rehoboam and Jeroboam continually.
All right, let's go to the book of Jehu. That's 2 Chronicles 20:34. All right, let's read that.
2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 34.
Come on.
Now the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat, first and last, behold, they are written in the book of Jehu.
The book of who?
The book of Jehu,
Go ahead.
the son of Hanani, who is mentioned in the book of the kings of Israel.
There you go. So these books, if we can ever find them, they're open to read. Let's go to the saying of the seers. That's 2 Chronicles 33:19. And let's read that.
2 Chronicles chapter 33, verse 19.
Uh-huh.
His prayer also, and how the Most High was entreated of him, and all his sin, and his trespass, and the places wherein he built high places, and set up groves and graven images, before he was humble. Behold, they are written among the sayings of the seers.
They are written where?
Among the sayings of the seers.
See that? Okay, we already got Enoch. We know where Enoch is. The book of Gad the seer, right? 1 Chronicles 29:29. Okay.
Oh, first
Yes. 1 Chronicles 29:29. This is the book of Gad the seer. Let's read. You got it? Okay. Read.
1 Chronicles chapter 29, verse 29. Now the acts of David the king, first and last, behold, they are written in the book of Samuel the seer, and in the book of Nathan the prophet, and in the book of Gad the seer.
There you go. How about this one? There was an epistle to the Ephesians, right? So let's get that in Ephesians 3 and 4. And you all read Ephesians 3 and 4 today, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't
4
pick
and
this?
5.
Oh, 4 and 5?
4 and 5.
What about the Corinthians?
Oh, no. Okay, let's read that. And then hold that because you're going to go to Colossians after that.
Ephesians chapter 3.
Ephesians 3 and 4. And then you're going to go to Colossians 4:16.
Got it.
All right, let's read.
Ephesians chapter 3, verse 3.
Come on.
How that by revelation he made known unto me the mystery, as I wrote afore in few words, whereby when ye read ye may understand my knowledge in the mystery of Christ.
There you go. Let's go to Colossians 4:16. That's the epistle of Laodicea.
Got it.
All right, let's read that.
Colossians chapter 4, verse 16. And when this epistle is read among you, cause that it be read also in the church of the Laodiceans, and that ye likewise read the epistle from Laodicea.
There you go. We've read the Bible, and I know we've read these scriptures, and we just overlook it. All these books that are coming out. The Nazarene prophecy, right? Let's go to Matthew chapter 2, verse 23.
23.
Yep. Let's read that.
St. Matthew chapter 2, verse 23.
Come on.
And he came and dwelt in a city called Nazareth, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophets, he shall be called a Nazarene.
Spoken by the prophets, right? The acts of Uzziah, right? 2 Chronicles 26:22. And then hold that, and you're going to get the annals of King David. 1 Chronicles 27:24. So 2 Chronicles 26:22. And then 1 Chronicles 27:24. Okay, these are the acts of Uzziah. Right? Let's read.
2 Chronicles chapter 26, verse 22.
22.
Now the rest of the acts of Uzziah, first and last, did Isaiah the prophet, the son of Amoz, write.
All right, so that would go into detail about what Uzziah did. And now the annals of King David, right? 1 Chronicles 27 and 24. And let's read that.
1 Chronicles chapter 27, verse 24. Joab, the son of Zeruiah, began to number, but he finished not, because there fell wrath for it against Israel. Neither was the number put in the account of the Chronicles of King David.
There you go. There you go. Those books will refute everything about this false religion garbage that Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz have been putting out. Let's go to Enoch chapter 1, verse 9.
The book of Enoch chapter 1, verse 9.
Go ahead.
And behold, he comes with 10,000 of his holy ones, saints, to execute judgment on all and to destroy all the ungodly wicked, and to convict all flesh of all the works of their ungodliness which they have ungodly committed, and all the hard things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him.
All right. So let's get to the Bible and let's show that same thing in Jude, the 14th verse. There you go. Read it.
Jude chapter 1, verse 14. And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of thee, saying, Behold, the Most High cometh with 10,000 of his saints.
So that shows that the book of Enoch can be used, right?
Sure.
So let's go back to the book of Enoch, and we're going to be at chapter 15, verse 9. And we're going to read from 9 to 12. All right.
15 verse.
All right, let's read that.
The book of Enoch chapter 15, verse 9. And shall live on the earth. Evil spirits have come out from their bodies, because they are born from men and from the holy watchers. Their beginning is a primal origin. They shall be evil spirits on earth, and evil spirits shall they be called, spirits of the evil ones. As for the spirits of heaven, in heaven shall be their dwelling. But as for the spirits of the earth, which were born on the earth shall be their dwelling. And the spirits of the giants afflict, oppress, destroy, attack, war, destroy, and cause trouble on the earth. They take no food, but do not hunger or but do not hunger or thirst.
Go ahead.
They cause offenses, but are not observed. And these spirits shall rise up against the children of men and against the women, because they have proceeded from them in the days of the slaughter and destruction.
All right. This is what Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz, this is what they got. This is what gave them power. Okay? Let's go to Baruch Baruch is in the Apocrypha. We're going to be in Baruch chapter 3, verses 24 to 28.
Chapter 3.
Yes, chapter 3, verse 24 to 28.
Got it.
Go ahead.
Baruch chapter 3 verse 24. O Israel, how great is the house of the Most High, and how large is the place of his possession. Great and hath none end, high and unmeasurable.
Mm-hmm.
There were the giants famous from the beginning, that were of so great stature, and so expert in war.
That's Nimrod. Go ahead.
Those did not the Most High choose,
Mm-hmm.
neither gave he the way of knowledge unto them.
Mm-hmm.
But they were destroyed because they had no wisdom, and perished through their own foolishness.
Perish through their own foolishness.
So when they say giants, they're not talking about.
They're not talking about tall people. They're talking about men of stature. Okay? Nimrod was a man of stature. Okay? All right. So this is what false religion gets you, right? Let's go to the book of Acts. Operating in false religion, this is what happens. Let's go to the book of Acts, chapter 19. We're going to start at verse 1. We're going to go through the verse 20. Okay? And we're bringing forth all this information to get an understanding of Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. And get an understanding of all false religion. Okay, let's read.
Acts chapter 19 verse 1. And it came to pass that while Apollos was at Corinth, Paul, having passed through the upper coast, came to Ephesus.
Mm-hmm.
And finding certain disciples, he said unto them, Have ye received the Holy Spirit since ye believed? And they said unto him, We have not so much as heard whether there be an Holy Spirit.
Okay, go ahead.
And he said unto them, Unto what then were ye baptized?
Mm-hmm.
And they said, Unto John's baptism.
Mm-hmm.
Then said Paul, John verily baptized with the baptism of repentance, saying unto the people that they should believe on him which should come after him, that is, on Christ
You
Yeshua.
should believe on Christ. Verse 5.
When they heard this, they were baptized in the name of the Lord Yeshua.
They didn't have to wait. They baptized immediately. Go ahead.
And when Paul had laid his hands upon them, the Holy Spirit came on them, and they spake with tongues and prophesied.
Go ahead.
And all the men were about 12.
All right, go ahead. Verse 8.
And he went into the synagogue and spake boldly for the space of 3 months, disputing and persuading the things concerning the kingdom of Ahiah.
You see that? He boldly spoke in a space of 3 months, disputing and persuading the things concerning. So it's okay to sit and someone has a wrong opinion. That's what Paul was doing. Verse 9.
But when divers were hardened and believed not, but spake evil of that way before the multitude, he departed from them and separated the disciples, disputing daily in the school of Tyrannus.
Go ahead.
And this continued by the space of 2 years, so that all they which dwelt in Asia heard the word of the of the Lord Yeshua, both Jews and Greeks.
Verse 11.
And the Most High wrought special miracles by the hands of Paul, so that from his body were brought unto the sick handkerchiefs or aprons, and the diseases departed from them, and the evil spirits went out of them.
So Paul prayed over these handkerchiefs and aprons, gave them to them, and the diseases that they were struck with left them, the evil spirits. That's strong. That is strong. But you had some people, right? Now that's the good side of serving the Most High. Here's the bad side. right?
Guys are bad. Oh.
Verse 13, read.
Then certain of the vagabond Jews, exorcists,
We're going to look up that word exorcist. Go ahead.
took upon them to call over them which had evil spirits the name of the Lord Yeshua, saying, We adjure you by Yeshua whom Paul preacheth.
We're going to look up the word adjure, right? So adjure is Strong's Concordance G3726, which is horkizo, which means to force, to take an oath. Go ahead. Yes.
What's a vagabond Jew?
What is a
That's what it
vagabond
said,
Jew?
right?
Right. It was a certain vagabond Jews. They were Jews. What's a vagabond?
Kind of like a nomad person, like wanders from.
Wander from place to place to place.
Oh,
Okay? So adjure means to take an oath. But anybody ever know what exorcism means? Or exorcist?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the person.
We're going to get it, and let's read verse 4. Let's finish this up first. Go
Verse-
ahead.
Verse 14. And there were 7 sons of one Sceva, a Jew, and a chief of the priests which did so.
Uh-huh.
And the evil spirit answered and said, Yeshua I know, and Paul I know, but who are ye?
He's talking to Christians. Christians who say, you know what? I read in the Bible, which is a rarity, that Christ was casting out evil spirits. So I'm a Christian, and I believe in Jesus. So I'm going to go cast out some evil spirits. Right? That's what these guys are saying. They're following religion. And the demon says, Yeshua we know, Paul we know, but you, who are you? That's total disrespect. But let's see what happened to him. This is what happens when you start doing things before time. When you start ministering before time. When you start casting out spirits before time. This is what happens. 16.
And the man in whom the evil spirit was leaped on them and overcame them.
The man, he overcome them. If you don't know what you're doing, you start, I'm going to pray for this brother right now. In the name, and he grabs you by the neck. And that demon starts to choke you. It's because you did it before time. Read.
And prevailed against them, so that they fled out of that house naked and wounded.
They got out of there.
And rip their clothes.
17.
And this was known to all the Jews and Greeks also, dwelling at Ephesus. And fear fell on them all.
Fear fell on them. When they saw that, they were like, whoa, wait a minute. Fear fell on them, but what else happened that's even more greater?
And the name of the Lord Yeshua was magnified.
There you go. 18.
And many that believed came and confessed and shewed their deeds.
Go ahead. Verse 19. And you have to do something, right? Verse 19 is what they did. Read.
Many of them also which used curious arts brought their books together and burned them before all men. And they counted the price of them and found it 50,000 pieces of silver.
50,000 pieces of silver. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of books. But you know what? They did not hesitate to get rid of sin. They got rid of sin immediately. They didn't tarry and wait. 20.
So mightily grew the word of the Most High and prevailed.
So Nimrod got that same idea from Satan on how to control the people. And that's opposite of what Paul did. False religions talk about exorcism, right? So I guess somebody got a definition for exorcism.
Out the Strong's.
No, not out the Strongs. What's a plain definition for exorcism?
Yeah, it is the religious or spiritual practice of purportedly evicting demons or other spiritual entities from a person or area they are believed to have possessed.
Okay, so exorcism talks about evictions, dismissal, expulsion, and hexes, right? But guess what they're not telling you? Exorcism also means charms, enchanter, witch, genius, soothsayer, medium, and magic.
Genius.
Yes.
So if you have like a child be born and they have all this worldly wisdom, that's demonic.
Yes, it is.
Einstein is demonic.
Yeah, he was.
It says by casting them out.
Okay. So exorcism, that's just another pagan practice. That's what it is. All right? Let's go to Sirach chapter 17. Read.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 17 verse 7.
Come on.
With all he filled them with the knowledge of understanding and shewed them good and evil.
And showed them good and evil. Father shows us good and evil.
Yes, he does.
Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz took the evil route. And when Nimrod took the evil route, all hell broke loose. Literally. Hell just opened itself up to get in more souls. Psalms 96.
Psalms chapter 96 verse 4. For the Most High is great and greatly to be praised. He is to be feared above all gods.
Now, why would the Bible have that in there? To be feared above all gods. Okay. Read.
For all the gods of the nations are idols.
Read it again.
For all the gods of the nations are idols.
Go ahead.
But the Most High made the heavens.
That's why. So Nimrod, Semiramis, Tammuz, Satan, whoever has no power over the Most High's chosen people. Islam. Why do we need it? Who cares about it? We had Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And we followed the traditions of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The Feast of First Fruits, the holy days, right? Then all that was going on before Muhammad even came on the scene. All that was going on before Muhammad even popped himself up. In Islam, do you know that they have 3 stones? And in these 3 stones, there were 2 black, 1 white. The one stone represented Allah, the one stone represented Allah's daughter, and the other one represented something. Okay, one of the stones, though, looks like a vagina. And you put your hand in this stone and you pray in it. Okay? We're going to get it. Get Babylon to Timbuktu. Page 45 to 50, but it's only highlighted. It's not all of it. Right, just the highlighted part. Start at page, this is Babylon to Timbuktu. Go ahead.
From Babylon to Timbuktu, page 45. When Muhammad was born, many Arabs were still worshiping the sun, stars, spirits, and idols.
They were worshiping all these deities, right? Go ahead.
The Arabs possessed 360 idols.
How many?
360 idols.
How many?
360 idols.
They had 360 idols. Go ahead.
One for each day of the year.
One for each day of the year. Right? I think we've taught on this before. But I want to show you where we get the evidence from. Right? Go ahead.
After Muhammad became a camel driver.
He was a camel driver. Well, Muhammad was a camel driver. Wait a minute. He's supposed to be the prophet of Islam, and he was a camel driver, i.e. taxi driver. Go ahead.
He traveled to remote and intriguing lands. He led his caravans to Persia, Syria, and Egypt, transacting business with merchants of every kind.
Mm-hmm.
On his business trips, he met Jews.
He met Jews. He met us.
That's what I said.
Go ahead.
Christians, and members of other sects. He interrogated them concerning the tenets of their religions. He frequented the environment of the Jews and their rabbis,
Right.
mostly because they were merchants and an omnipresent ethnic group.
There you go. Okay. What's the newest religion? Islam. Islam is the newest religion.
Then what about Christian?
No, that's a combination of two.
Oh.
Read.
Because he could not read or write,
Because he was illiterate. How are you going to follow somebody who's illiterate? He couldn't read or write. Go ahead.
his ears were attentive and keen to everything that the Jews related to him.
He listened to what they were talking. They were talking about our records. And he was listening to this stuff. Go ahead.
Muhammad learned and extracted much from the Jewish religion and compounded it with his new religion, Islam.
There you go. Come on.
Incidentally, by this time, the Hebrew Old Testament had been translated into Arabic, and the Arabs were rapturously pleased to read about their great ancestors in the story of the Hebrew patriarchs.
All right. And who was that what they were talking about? Go ahead.
This fact alone helped Muhammad to inspire in the Arabs the feeling of nationalism and racial pride, because they had read in the Hebrew scripture that Ishmael was to become a great nation.
Ishmael was to become a great nation. So they knew that they were from Ishmael. And Ishmael was supposed to become a great nation. So that just triggered Islam to just spread. Read.
The Mohammedan calendar commences with the year of the Hijra. It is the most important event in Islamic history.
Go ahead.
The Hijra occurred in 622 AD, when Muhammad was 53 years old. Islam and Judaism. The Prophet Muhammad adopted many principles and laws from the Jewish religion. First of all, the basic idea of monotheism, which is the belief in one God.
So they took 360 of them, and really it's not, Islam is not really worshiping one God. It's worshiping three. So they took these 360 and put them into three. It's not one, it's three. Read.
The Jewish confession of the unity of God is Shema Israel Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Ahad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one.
Where did they get that from?
Right.
Come on.
The Mohammedan slogan is as follows: La ilaha illa Allah, Muhammad Rasul Allah. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is the prophet of Allah.
Go ahead.
Muhammad tried to construct his religion as closely as he could after the Jewish religion. He favored the Jews by accepting many of their laws and traditions. When the Jews refused to be converted, he commanded his followers to stop turning to the holy city of Jerusalem in prayer.
And do what?
But rather to turn to the city of Mecca. He changed the Jewish Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement or fast day, which he had accepted for the month of Ramadan.
That's where they get it from. So see, Islam is just a spin-off of us. Go ahead.
Muhammad changed the Jewish Sabbath from Saturday to Friday.
Go ahead.
We have another parallel with Christianity. In the 4th century, the church changed the Sabbath to Sunday and reorganized its calendar to make Easter separate of the Passover. Like Christianity also, Muhammad included in his Bible, the Quran, accusations concerning the Jews.
He had accusations concerning the Jews, but then at the same time, in the Quran, they have that the Israelites are Father's chosen people in several passages. Now, how crazy is that? Read.
Nevertheless, the Quran glorifies many biblical personalities.
Yes, it does. Come on.
The fanatical stage of most revolutions is a bestial, ruthless, bloody, chaotic affair. The throats of men are cut from ear to ear. There is an absence of rationalization, and extreme fanaticism sets in. So it was with Muhammad. He had come to a point of no return. He became a religious extremist in order to give his people a better life on a rapid scale.
And that's why they are so extreme in their religion. Go down to the last paragraph and let's read that.
Muhammad attacked tribe after tribe and caravan after caravan.
Attacking people, right? This is what Islam does. And wait a minute. We never did that. Those guys are just radical. No, it started from your beginning. Go ahead.
That were going to the city of Mecca. These acts enraged the Meccans, and they equipped a large army to destroy Muhammad. In the ensuing battle, Muhammad was almost killed. Finally, the Prophet marshaled his forces and entered the city of Mecca. The entire city was abandoned because its inhabitants were afraid of Muhammad. Muhammad decimated the idols in Mecca. However, he did not demolish the temple. When the Meccans saw that Muhammad did not destroy their temple, they returned to the city and joined his religion.
They joined them. All right?
They joined them through fear, bitch.
They joined them through fear. Right.
Jews did.
No.
The
Arabs.
Oh, the Arabs.
All right, so let's quickly talk about Satanism and the 3 levels Satanism, which started with Nimrod. Since the gods of the Gentiles are being worshipped everywhere. We read Genesis 1:11, so we're not going to go there. Nimrod had worships every Sunday for the sun. Let's get back to Ezekiel chapter 8, and we're going to read verses 15 and 16. So we're going to talk about the 3 levels of Satanism, all right? And then we're done.
Bring it up.
Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 15 and 16.
Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 15. Then said he unto me, Hast thou seen this, O son of man? Turn thee yet again, and thou shalt see greater abomination than these.
Go ahead.
And he brought me into the inner court of the Most High's house. And behold, at the door of the temple of the Most High, between the porch and the altar, were about 25 men, with their backs toward the temple of the Most High, and their faces toward the east. And they worship the sun toward the east.
There you go. They worship the sun. Okay?
So the first one is sun worship.
No. All religions are Satanism. Okay? Period. All religions are Satanism. Exodus 22:25. Let's read. 22:25, Exodus. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 22, verse 25. If thou lend money to any of my people that is poor by thee, thou shalt not be to him as an usurer, neither shalt thou lay upon him usury.
Okay, so the Jewish religion don't believe in that scripture. Because what they do is they give these loans. We know who the banks are ran by. They give these loans, and these loans come with these inordinate interest rates.
Student loans, car loans.
Car loan, 14.5% interest rate. That's against the Bible. Payday loans, 225, 300% interest rate.
Yeah,
Are you
crazy.
kidding me?
Yeah.
That's against Father's word. So, low-level Satanism, the first one is atheism, the atheist. The lowest level of Satanism is the atheist. Right? It's the atheist. And atheists will tell you, well, we don't have a religion. But atheism is a religion.
Yes, it is.
Right? So if atheists don't believe, then why do they spend so much money trying to push their agenda on those who do believe? Why is that? Billboards all over the place, right? But atheists are liars because they believe in something. The atheists believe in the Big Bang Theory. They believe in evolution. So they have to believe in something. When they say they don't believe anything, they're a liar. Atheism is one thing, and that's a lack of belief in God. Atheism is not an affirmative belief that there is not a God, nor does it answer to any other question about a person's beliefs. It's simply a rejection of assertion of other gods. That's all it is. Atheism is to define incorrectly as a belief system. Okay? To be clear, atheism is not a disbelief in gods or denial. It's a lack of belief in God. That's what it is. Okay? You get groups like agnostics, humanists, secular, free thinker, all those groups who they identify with something, right? They identify with something, but they have this thing where they don't believe in a God, but they believe in something. Okay? Atheism is a religion, regardless what they say, regardless what they try to put past you. Atheism is a religion. And you know the funny thing about it is that when you come across an atheist, they'll tell you that the Bible is wrong. Well, wait a minute. If you don't believe, then how are you going to tell me something's wrong? Right? Let's get Psalms 14:1. We're going to have to take that umbrella down.
Yeah, I was just going to ask.
All right, Psalms 14:1. Let's read.
Psalms chapter 14, verse 1.
Come on.
The fool has said in his heart, there is no power.
The fool that says in his heart, there is no God. Go ahead.
They are corrupt. They have done abominable works. There is none that doeth good.
All right, it's a fool that says there is no God. Atheists believe in the Big Bang Theory. So if they believe in the Big Bang Theory, then and they weren't there, just like we believe in Yeshaya and Ahia, but we weren't there, so they believe in something. They have a belief because they never seen a Big Bang. They never seen a Big Bang. Just like we have never seen Yeshaya, but we believe. Okay? Your mid-level, that's your pagans. Okay? Your mid-level is your pagans, right? So they'll tell you that, you know, we deal with nature, we deal with earth, we deal with, you know, good witches. You know, there's some bad witches out there, but there's some good witches, right?
Right, witches are good witches.
Right. Harry Potter and the TV show from the 60s, Bewitched. Right? That stuff is pagan. Okay? But really, they come from ancient Druids and Celtics. That's where they come from. And the ancient Druids and Celtics came from Nimrod.
Exactly.
The Bible has something against good witch, bad witch, any kind of witch, right? Let's get Exodus 22:18. Good witch, bad witch. Oh, she's a white witch. She's perfect. She's fine. But let's see what the Bible says about it. Read.
Exodus chapter 22, verse 18. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live.
There you go.
Burn them.
Kill them.
Kill him. Burn at the stake.
Now that doesn't mean go out and your next door neighbor is looking a little suspicious. So now I'm going to use the Bible. I'm going to take that witch out.
Instead of the sun.
Or you're going to go to the tarot card shop
Ooh.
and you're going to start tarot card read people. Those are witches. I'm going to kill them all. Right? No, you can't do that. So wicked. Yes.
What if your neighbor is putting 5-point stars in front of your house and circles and pentagrams?
Then you go in front of their house and claim a high ambush in the Shire.
You sure we don't burn them?
No, you don't burn them.
Where are you? Give me a number.
Wiccans hide the fact that they're actually witches. Okay, the Queen of Heaven, she's the top witch,
Yes, she.
right? And when you got your ignorant pagans, your Christians. Okay, they're ignorant pagans. They celebrate December 25th, Easter. They have Sunday worship. So you got your ignorant pagans out there too. But all in all, they're all are pagans. Let's get Deuteronomy 18. Deuteronomy 18, 10 and 12. And let's read that.
Deuteronomy chapter 18, verse 10.
Come on.
There shall not be found among you anyone that maketh his son or his daughter to pass through the fire, or that useth divination,
Come on.
or an observer of times, or an enchanter, or a witch,
Go ahead.
or a charmer, or a consulter with familiar spirits, or a wizard, or a necromancer.
And you know what necromancers are, right? They're people who talk to the dead. Go ahead.
For all,
Go ahead.
For all that do these things are an abomination unto the Most High, and because of these abominations, a higher thy power doth drive them out from before thee.
All right. Pagans also deal with child sacrifice. Okay. They deal with child sacrifices. Children on Moloch to celebrate and basically, child sacrifices back then was throwing a child onto a 3,000-degree idol. Child sacrifice today, December 25th. Birthdays.
All holidays.
That's child sacrifice today. You're allowing your children to pass through the fire. Allowing your children to watch Harry Potter, that TV show Charmed, or any Walt Disney. Any Walt Disney. That's allowing your children to pass through the fire. And the Most High is going to be very unhappy with you if you do that. It's teaching your children that it's okay. And then they teach their children that it's okay. We're going to get the New World Encyclopedia about pagans. Okay, I want you to read that. Go ahead.
Both pagan and heathen and their analogies, Gentile, Hebrew, Goyim, and
Goyim.
Goyim.
You ever heard some Jewish people call people Goyims? Go ahead.
And infidel, Arabic, kafir.
Kafir. Okay. Goyims and kafir. Right? When they call you a Goyim, they're basically calling you a pagan or a heathen. Which kind of is a good thing. If a Jewish person is calling you that, then that means you're not doing what they're doing. Go ahead.
Have historically been used as pejorative terms by adherents of monotheistic religions, namely Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, to describe unbelievers. A peculiar subset of this usage uses paganism to describe the lack of an accepted monotheistic religion, becoming somewhat an analogies to atheism. Though the Islamic and Jewish terms have led to their share of repression, the Christian church has throughout history been the most vocally and violently repressive of these primitive forms of religious expression. See the articles on kafir, infidel, Gentile, and Goyim.
Christians became pagans in 325 AD. If you tell these people they are Satanists, you tell a Christian, you know, you're a Satanist. You're that's it. Then maybe Satan, you know, his stronghold will start to weaken. Wiccan and New Age people are Satanists, right? Let's get Amos 5. So we're at mid-level now with the pagans, okay? And this should have been 4 levels. It's actually 4 levels of Satanism. This is level 2. Not really harmless. Majority of Christians aren't really harmless unless you take them off. Then they're very violent.
Or they beat you down.
Okay? But they go, Wiccans, they go and they pray and they cast potions and spells on, they do all that stuff that really doesn't have any power whatsoever. But we're going to get to a little higher on the Satan pole, and they get a little stronger. Amos 5:21 to 25. Let's read that.
Amos chapter 5, verse 21. I despise your feast days, and I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. Though ye offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them. Neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beasts.
Come on.
Take thou away from me the noise of thy songs, for I will not hear the melody of thy viols. But let judgment run down as waters, and righteousness as a mighty stream. Have ye offered unto me sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness 40 years, O house of Israel?
So, Thanksgiving, right? Thanksgiving, there was a sacrifice of a people. And that sacrifice of a people was to get the Jesuits more higher in power. The more people they killed, the more higher in power Satan gave them. So that's why they slaughtered millions of Gadites, so that the Jesuits can get a higher power from Satan. Right? That's where the Star of Moloch or the Star of David come in. You even got Israelites with Star of Moloch and Star of David, with the Star of Moloch on their attire. Right? So let's go even further. Madonna, right? How many times has Madonna adopted children? And where are these children now?
No, sir.
Acting up.
No, they're dead. You don't see, has anybody seen an older picture? Now, she's been doing this for a while. She's got several children. Has anybody ever seen a picture of the older children? They're gone.
Only one?
Angelina Jolie.
Only of her daughter.
No, I'm not talking about her daughter. I'm talking about the ones she adopted.
Nope, never seen.
Angelina Jolie. She was on this adoption phase to the point where the African one, whatever, Nigeria, I think it was, banned her from doing it. But where are these children now?
Without doing the paperwork.
You see their wretched children who they were giving birth to, but what about the children that they adopted? Because they deal with pedophilia and they deal with child sacrifices. Madonna is a big Kabbalist. And Kabbalists, they deal with child sacrifices. Okay? The next level is homosexuality. This is a high level of Satanism. And there's one more level after this. So see, homosexuals, they can talk about anybody they want to. But you say something bad about a homosexual and you see what you're going to get.
Razor blade elementary.
They can talk about anybody. But see, the homosexuals, they kind of speak like atheists. They kind of speak like atheists. And the homosexuals, those are your teachers and your principals. And they're teaching your children how to walk around, how boys walk around switching like girls. And how girls have to start looking like men. These are your teachers nowadays. Putting their homosexual lifestyle on children. But yet and still, their lifestyles are against what the Most High is. So you come and you say, you know what, I don't like your lifestyle. All of a sudden, you're a racist. Or all of a sudden, they want to charge you with a hate crime. You can't live and let live with these people because they're trying to push their agenda on everybody. You got them in all kinds of high places now. You got them in all kinds of high official offices now. And they're pushing their agenda left and right. They have infiltrated the church to the point where there's gay church, and there's a gay church here in Phoenix too. And don't think that we're not going to pay a visit in front of that church one day. All right, let's get 2 Corinthians 11. 2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14, 15. It's wrong. And if we don't speak out against anything that's wrong, and we know what that makes us.
Covenant with it.
Wicked.
It makes us wicked. Right? 2 Corinthians 11, 14. Read.
2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14. And no marvel, for Satan himself is transformed into an angel of light. Therefore it is no great thing if his ministers also be transformed as the ministers of righteousness, whose end shall be according to their works.
That's Nimrod. That scripture means that Satan is perceived as good God. Okay? Everything that people say that is bad, people say it's good. Las Vegas. We know that's bad, but everybody say, oh, you going to Vegas? Oh, party on. Homosexuals. There was a push of a commercial a few years ago, and it was called The Other White Meat. Pork. Right? The other white meat. Okay? The good white meat. Child molestation. Soon it's going to be perfectly normal.
It is.
No, they had did a skit on with The Rock, and the thing was everybody had to come up with different inventions. He made a robot that will molest kids, can molest kids more than a pedophile can. Yep.
All right, your top level Satanists, the Jewish religion.
Molest them.
Okay? This is the upper echelon of Satanism, right? Okay? They're your top warlock, okay? Your top witches and warlocks. Their top books are the Talmud and the Kaaba, whatever it's called. All right? They sacrifice to Moloch, right? Bohemian Grove has your top elected officials. This is the upper echelon in Satanism. Every financial district, right? There's a bull in front of it. You ever notice that? In New York, there's a big bull. London, there's a big bull. Tokyo, there's a big bull right outside their financial district. Downtown Chicago, there's a big bull right outside the financial district. But what does it mean? And why is it all over the place? The bull is a definite link to Satan. Let's get Exodus 32:4. Got it? Read.
Exodus chapter 32, verse 4.
Come on.
And he received them at their hand and fashioned it with a graving tool, after he had made it a molten calf. And they said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt.
This be thy gods that brought them out of the land of Israel. Right? So these are the gods that brought them out of the land of Israel. Now,
out of Egypt.
I'm in Egypt. Right? Now, there were two calves. It wasn't one, there were two. Okay? Let's skip down to verse 19. Same chapter. All right, let's read that.
And it came to pass, as soon as he came nigh unto the camp, that he saw the calf and the dancing, and Moses' anger waxed hot.
Mm-hmm.
And he cast the tables out of his hands and brake them beneath the mount.
Uh-huh.
And he took the calf which they had made and burnt it in the fire, and ground it to powder, and strawed it upon the water, and made the children of Israel drink of it.
Oh man, yeah, man.
Oh goodness. I love Moses. 21.
And Moses said unto Aaron, what did this people unto that Salakia? What did this people unto thee, that thou hast brought so great a sin upon them?
All right. Let's stay in that same chapter and let's go to verse 33. Exodus 32, 33, and we're going to read 33 to, I'm sorry, Exodus 32, 31 to 33. All right, go ahead.
And Moses returned unto the Most High and said, oh, this people have sinned a great sin, and have made them gods of gold.
Gods of gold. There were 2 calves, not one. Read.
And yet now, if thou wilt forgive their sin, and if not, blot me, I pray thee, out of thy book which thou hast written.
33.
And the Most High said unto Moses, whosoever has sinned against me, him will I blot out of my book.
If you sin against Father, you're blotted out the book. See that? Okay. Okay, so they named those 2 gods and they created Yahweh. Those bulls outside of the financial district, that's Yahweh. All right? And that comes from the Illuminati 2 book. Right? Not only do they kill children, but guess what? Have you ever heard of matzo ball soup?
Yes.
M-A-Z.
Guess what's in it?
Bull.
Child blood. Every Passover, they get that matzo ball soup and they drain the children's blood, and that's what they eat the soup with. It was that guy Finkelstein said it. He said it. We don't eat the children. We're not cannibals. We just drain their blood. They put it in the matzo ball soup, and they have that on the Passover.
It's something that our people eat, and it's made with blood. It's something blood.
Blood sausage.
I don't know, but
blood
we're not supposed to be
sausage.
eating anything blood,
It's,
let alone blood from children.
Blood sausage.
But the child sacrifices and child protective services are all ran by who? The Jesuits. They're ran by them. See, this is how it works. Child protective services says that, you know what, your family's unfit. So they take the child out the home and they put the child in with a pedophile. Or they put the child in there with somebody who's involved in the animal sacrifices. They tell you that, you know what, the paperwork has been done. Your child is adopted now by somebody else and you can't see your child anymore. Meantime, your child is in this dungeon basement about to be sacrificed at the Bohemian Grove. This is what Child Protective Services is all about. They're about getting the children, because children represents innocence. This is our last scripture. Let's go back to Jasher chapter 11. Okay, let's read.
The book of Jasher, chapter 11, verse 7. And notwithstanding this, Nimrod did not return to the Most High, and he continued in wickedness and teaching wickedness to the sons of men. And Mardon, his son, was worse than his father, and continued to add to the abominations of his father. And he caused the sons of men to sin. Therefore it is said, from the wicked goeth forth wickedness. At that time there was war between the families of the children of Ham, as they were dwelling in the cities which they had built.
There were war. They dwelt in the cities. They were doing all kinds of evil. But where did all this start? It started with Nimrod. Okay. So I pray that you get an understanding now of Nimrod, Semiramis, and Tammuz. Next week, we're going to have another detailed lesson on Egypt, Greece, and Roman worships, and who started all that. We give all praises to the Most. First of all, any questions on the chat?
No.
Okay. All right, so we give all praises to the Most High, Ahaya, Asha, Ahaya, and we thank Yeshua, the Mashak, and Rawak, the Holy Spirit. Please subscribe to our channel for more detailed teachings and lessons. I know this was a little long, but you know what? All the information was needed.
Yes.
Next week, same thing. Kwam Yasharala.
Kwam Yasharala.
Any questions here? We're not going to straight